Philadelphia. I am so happy. It's been a great day and night. What an incredible honor that you have given me. And I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. After all, when there are no ceilings, the sky's the limit. So let's keep going. Let's keep going until every one of the 161 million women and girls across America has the opportunity she deserves to have.
Good evening, I'm Dawn Timoney.
And I'm Chris O'Connell. Thanks for joining us tonight for our You Decide special after a huge week in Philadelphia.
Hillary Clinton making history, becoming the first woman to be nominated as a presidential candidate for a major American political party. And tonight we want to take a look back at the highlights of the DNC that took over the city of brotherly love.
And we also want to look ahead to November. We are now, if you can believe it, 102 days away from the general election. Clinton will face off against Donald Trump after he was nominated as the Republican candidate last week in Cleveland. Trump got a bit of a bump in the polls after the Republican National Convention, but those polls still remain close.
Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, a poll released yesterday shows Clinton with a solid lead over Donald Trump among likely Pennsylvania voters. In a head-to-head matchup in the Suffolk University survey, Clinton is ahead of Trump 50% to 41% with an 8% undecided. Democrats have won the Keystone State, by the way, since 1992.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton and running mate Senator Tim Kaine are wasting no time after a busy convention week. They set out for a bus tour. This is the pair campaigning in Harrisburg. They began the tour this morning at Philadelphia at Temple University.
Our Bruce Gordon has a wrap-up of today's rally.
The crowds that formed hours before the Clinton-Kaine midday rally seemed a bit younger than usual. It wasn't just the venue, a college campus. No, you could chalk this up to parents wanting their kids, daughters in particular, to get an up-close look at what a female presidential nominee looks like. Hillary Clinton might just become the leader of the free world.
I think that she could change how a lot of people think about what they could do.
Is she changing your views?
Yes.
Secretary Clinton was accompanied on stage by her running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, and by her husband, our 42nd president. But all eyes, many of them so young, so wide open, were on the woman who made history at the Wells Fargo Center Thursday night. Mrs. Clinton said as she looked out at that crowd upon accepting the Democratic nomination,
I knew that every parent in this country could look at their son or their daughter and now say the very same thing. You too could be President of the United States. Thank you all.
The politics and policies of her speech almost certainly went over the heads of the youngest in this crowd, but that's okay.
They get this is very important that a woman can be president. She gets it especially.
I think it's pretty cool for the first woman president to become president.
Think you could become president someday?
Yes.
Lest we get too impressed by America's progressive views on gender and politics, it should be noted that dozens of countries around the world have already broken this barrier.
It's an overwhelming feeling because in Jamaica, we also had a woman president.
And lest we think the Clinton nomination is all about the aspirations of little girls, and it's also about fulfilling the dreams of former young women. You voted for Richard Nixon for the first time in 1972. Back then, could you have imagined being able to vote for a woman?
No, and I am so excited.
That was Bruce Gordon reporting. The Clinton-Kaine bus tour will take the Democrats across Pennsylvania and Ohio, both considered battleground states.
The DNC, a big success for the city of Philadelphia. At least that's what Mayor Jim Kenney is saying, speaking at an afternoon news conference. Kenney says the convention ran smoothly and right according to plan. The mayor seemed proud to report there were no arrests made by Philadelphia city police officers during the DNC. Federal officials, however, did charge several demonstrators who jumped the fence at FDR Park. Nonetheless, the Democratic mayor says Philly cemented its reputation as a city that does big events like the Pope or the DNC pretty well.
I want to thank Philadelphians for being such wonderful hosts. I had so many people stop me on the streets to tell me how friendly and fun Philadelphians really are, and that's the best advertising in the world.
The mayor wanted to remind residents that city services like trash collection had to operate while the convention was underway, which he says they also did pretty well.
And throughout the day, crews worked hard to get the Wells Fargo Center back to its normal condition. That is a big job, and it's not just the arena that needs cleaning up. It was a big cleanup all around the city as the DNC moves out.
It sure was. Fox 29's Dave Stratweiser shows us why visitors and locals alike say it was a big success.
As work crews cleaned up, security barriers got picked up, and delegates packed up, Philadelphia waved goodbye to the 2016 Democratic National Convention. The impressions were mostly good.
No, I love Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a great city. You know, it's the place where we founded our nation.
What a great time. I'm sorry that it's over, and I have to consider maybe I'll go again in 4 years.
Mike Halbert was an alternate delegate from Chicago. He says Philadelphia knocked it out of the park.
Superb job of putting this convention on. It was a first-rate convention.
Kim Grant Horsey worked as a DNC volunteer all week. She simply loved it.
I had a blast working with people, a diverse crowd from different areas, meeting the delegates.
Wayne Nelson worked the RNC in Cleveland and then came right to Philadelphia to sell Hillary Clinton T-shirts and hats.
I didn't see even an argument out here. Everyone was peaceful, very peaceful.
Even with the big protests, Philadelphia police reported no property damage and no local arrests. Of just over 100 disorderly conduct citations issued to protesters, 98 went to out-of-towners. The 7 people who made headlines breaking through the DNC security gates, they're all from out of town, too.
I guess it doesn't really surprise me.
Very peaceful experience with the police here.
Most praised the city's security plan. Commissioner Richard Ross took a hands-on approach.
I was quite impressed.
Everyone felt safe here. That's the most important thing.
In Center City, Dave Stratweiser, Fox 29 News.
More email trouble for Hillary Clinton's camp tonight.
The FBI and the Justice Department are investigating a computer hack of Clinton's presidential campaign. The campaign saying in a statement that its internal systems were not compromised. The intrusion was discovered by private investigators hired by the campaign. Now, this comes as the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee also revealed today it had been hacked in an incident similar to the breach at the party's main headquarters. So far, however, it's unclear exactly who tapped into the computers and which information was accessed at the Congressional Campaign Committee. Well, the DNC got off to a rocky start because of that email hack.
19,000 Democratic National Committee emails were released by WikiLeaks after the breach. The emails showed that supposedly neutral party officials were favoring Hillary Clinton over Senator Bernie Sanders during the primaries. As a result of that disclosure, party chairwoman Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz announced her resignation this week. Investigators think Russia may be responsible for the hack.
Donald Trump spent his day campaigning in Colorado and promising one thing as we race to November.
I'm taking the gloves off, right? Trump is going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy.
What set the Republican nominee off?
Although Bernie Sanders didn't make it to the finish line, he had a significant impact on how Hillary Clinton will run her race. See how Republicans will now use that to their advantage.
And at both conventions, LGBT issues took center stage. See how each campaign tried to appeal to that community. And as we go to break, here's another highlight from one of the most talked about speeches at the DNC.
America, you've vindicated that hope these past 8 years. And now I'm ready to pass the baton and do my part as a private citizen. So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me, to reject cynicism and reject fear, and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States and show the world we still believe in the promise of this great nation.
At home, on the go, and even at work. We're working for you whenever and wherever you want it, making it easy to stay connected.
I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves. And I watch my daughters two beautiful, intelligent black young women playing with their dogs on the White House lawn. And because of Hillary Clinton, my daughters and all our sons and daughters now take for granted that a woman can be president of the United States.
The First Lady made one of the most talked about speeches during the DNC this week in Philadelphia. Michelle Obama shedding a light on the historical significance of the Obama family's years in the White House as the first African-American family. Meanwhile, the DNC also got a lot of buzz for the Hollywood A-listers it brought to town this week.
Yeah, it includes Eva Longoria, Lena Dunham, America Ferrero, Meryl Streep, Elizabeth Banks, who all took to the stage to speak about a number of causes important to the party, from gender equality to immigration reform and gun violence. And for musicians, Lenny Kravitz, Alicia Keys, and Carole King all entertained the crowd at the Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, Katy Perry was also there last night. Here's a little bit of her performance.
Got the eye, sing.
Katy Perry, a stunt for Hillary Clinton throughout the primary season, performing at other campaign events for the candidate.
And LGBT equality was also a concern addressed on stage at the DNC. Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney spoke last night along LGBT rights activist Sarah McBride. Congressman Maloney is the first openly gay person to ever be elected to Congress, and McBride became the first transgender person to ever address a national political convention.
Today in America, LGBTQ people are still targeted by hate that lives in both laws and in hearts. Many still struggle just to get by. But I believe that tomorrow can be different. Tomorrow we can be respected and protected, especially if Hillary Clinton is our president.
Had a chance to meet her. She is one amazing woman. She is actually from Wilmington, Delaware.
Well, last week, Donald Trump used part of his acceptance speech at the RNC to speak directly to the LGBTQ community, promising to protect them from violence in the aftermath of the attack on the gay nightclub in Orlando. He received applause at the convention, but some LGBT activists criticized the message because Trump's running mate, Mike Pence, has taken positions opposing LGBT equality. Meanwhile, Trump took his campaign to Colorado today.
While his running mate concentrates in rallies in the heartland, Fox's Carl Cameron was with the Trump campaign in Denver tonight.
In Colorado, Donald Trump laced into Hillary Clinton.
After watching that performance last night, I'm taking the gloves off, right? Trump is going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Trump was defensive this morning after Clinton's acceptance speech last night, tweeting, quote, "Crooked Hillary Clinton mentioned me 22 times in her very long and very boring speech. Many of her statements were lies and fabrications." Trump cast Clinton and the Democrats' optimism as dishonest and out of touch with reality. A campaign statement declared, quote, "Hillary Clinton's speech was an insulting collection of cliches and recycled rhetoric. She spent the evening talking down to the American people she's looked down on her whole life." Trump running mate Indiana Governor Mike Pence today took part in an annual motorcycle rally in his home state and appeared on Hugh Hewitt's radio show. A former broadcaster, Pence said he will try to get media banned from events by Trump for critical coverage reinstated, and he expressed displeasure at the insult battle.
I don't think name-calling has any place in public life.
Trump, on a Wisconsin radio show guest hosted by Sheriff David Clark, said he would eliminate President Obama's executive order prohibiting law enforcement from purchasing surplus military equipment in a heartbeat so police can better protect themselves. Clinton last night blasted Trump's temperament and suitability for office.
A man you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons. Enough with the bigotry and the bombast.
I think I have the best temperament, or certainly one of the best temperaments, of anybody that's ever run for the office of president.
In Iowa, Trump last night predicted Clinton would get a bounce from her convention and acknowledged his weakness in the polls with women, but argued he's the only choice to prevent Clinton from packing the courts with liberals.
If you really like Donald Trump, that's great. But if you don't, you have to vote for me anyway. You know why? Supreme Court judges. Supreme Court judges. Have no choice. Sorry.
Not only is this likely to be one of the nastiest races in decades, it will be the longest in more than half a century. The last time both parties completed their conventions in July, John F. Kennedy was running against Richard Nixon in 1960. In Denver, Carl Cameron, Fox News.
Well, voters in North Carolina will not be required to show photo identification when heading to the polls in November. A federal appeals court blocked the controversial law, claiming that it would have made it harder for African Americans to vote. They say the other rules within the law would have disproportionately affected minorities. And this is the third ruling in less than 2 weeks against voter ID laws after recent court decisions in both Texas and Wisconsin.
Senator Bernie Sanders put up quite the fight against Hillary Clinton this campaign season. Although he didn't come out on top, we'll explain how his impact will still be felt throughout the remainder of the campaign. And as we head to break, another major speech highlight from the DNC.
In the spring of 1971, I met a girl. After the class, I followed her out, intending to introduce myself. I got close enough to touch her back, but I couldn't do it. Somehow I knew this would not be just another tap on the shoulder, that I might be starting something I couldn't stop. I married my best friend. I was still in awe after more than 4 years of being around her at how smart and strong and loving and caring she was.
Can I just say to the Bernie or bust people, you're being ridiculous.
Another much talked about moment at this week's DNC. Comedian Sarah Silverman goes off script, chiding Bernie Sanders backers as some of the senator supporters booed and jeered convention speakers. Silverman herself was an early supporter of Sanders. Well, Bernie Sanders himself was in solidarity with Clinton this week, supporting her at the DNC.
And although some of his supporters found it difficult to let go, Sanders last night tweeted, "I congratulate at Hillary Clinton on this historic achievement. We are stronger together." Sanders made a huge impact on this year's election. Political analysts say the progressive pushed Clinton further to the left on her politics. During the Democratic primary, Sanders criticized Clinton's ties to Wall Street. Meanwhile, Sanders will return back to his Senate seat representing the state of Vermont, and he will do so as an independent, which is the affiliation he used when he was elected to Congress. And one of the talking points for Republicans this campaign season will be that Hillary Clinton has tacked too far left in order to gain Bernie Sanders supporters.
Fox's Mike Emanuel takes a look at that part of the story.
We're going to break through the gridlock in Washington and make the biggest investment in new, good-paying jobs since World War II.
At her campaign rally today at Temple University, Hillary Clinton spoke of government spending leading to quality jobs. Former President Bill Clinton may still be on stage in a supporting role, but he signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, and Democrats now are lining up to defeat trade deals like TPP. Anti-TPP signs were everywhere at this week's convention, even though President Obama supports it. Last night, Clinton thanked Democrat Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders for his contributions to this 2016 campaign.
You've put economic and social justice issues front and center where they belong.
And Clinton signaled she is picking up the mantle for him.
And to all of your supporters here and around the country, I want you to know, I've heard you. Your cause is our cause.
And even with her tributes, Clinton was heckled by some of Sanders' supporters who are not satisfied. This week, Sanders celebrated pushing the party to the left.
Together, the Sanders camp and the Clinton camp worked together on creating the most progressive platform in the history of the Democratic Party.
There was also heckling this week of President Obama's former Secretary of Defense and CIA Director Leon Panetta. And now it is more liberal ideas that draw the applause.
Is there anybody at Temple that likes the idea of debt-free college? I mean, yeah.
The concern for Democrats heading into the general election is if the Clinton campaign went too far left during the primaries. The truth is they had to, with energy and huge crowds turning out for Bernie Sanders and his ideas, but that will likely make it more challenging to win those moderates in the middle. In Philadelphia, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
And thank you for joining us for our special You Decide tonight. Remember, Fox 29 is beginning an 11 o'clock newscast every weeknight beginning next Monday.
We're excited about that. And tomorrow, make sure you join into Good Day Weekend starting at 7 a.m. Have a great night and a good weekend, everyone.